through a 90-degree bend into an enlarged pit. He took an additional step down and stopped in front of a partially exposed slab of limestone. Ricky crept alongside him and peered at the artifact. Barely 2 feet square, the stone slab's upper and lower surfaces featured carved bands of hieroglyphics. The center section's bas-relief depicted several animals, some pots and jugs, and a round loaf of bread. Beneath the carvings were 2 small indented basins, and between them, the image of a boy standing on a vessel. "Is it an offering table?" Ricky asked. "Well done," Stanley said. Ricky stuck out her chin. "You may forget, Professor, that I have degrees in biochemistry and archaeology, and worked extensively in the field at your Thebes site." "Of course. You were there when we found the mummified body of the child. Your stepfather always overshadowed things. Fraser was such an important benefactor and participant in the field excavations. I tend to forget events without him. I am grateful your family supports our work, and I am thankful for your presence here." "We all harbor a keen interest in the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten," Ricky said, "and are excited at the prospect of another tomb discovery." "You may well be disappointed," Stanley said. "As you know, the royal tombs of Amarna were carved in the valley several kilometers east of the city. One wouldn't expect to find a tomb of significance where we stand." "You just did." Stanley flashed a wide grin. "Perhaps, my dear, perhaps. Offering tables have been known to be placed above ancient tombs. Many were, in fact, found during the early excavations here. Of course, those were associated with the temples, and they were made of ceramic. Still, there is the inscription on this one. So, just perhaps." "Harry," Zybig said, "what's your interpretation of the markings?" Stanley pulled a small notebook from his chest pocket. "It follows the standard offering elements. My field translation is, 'A gift which the king gives to the ruler of the 2 horizons, so that he will give a voice offering in bread, ox, fowl, and every good and pure thing, on behalf of the son of Henuteneb, beloved sister of the king.'" "So the table itself," Zybig said, "is an offering for the dead?" "Yes, for the unnamed nephew of the pharaoh. In the Old Kingdom era, the offerings of food were made literally to nourish both the gods and the deceased in their journey to the underworld. By the time of the New Kingdom, when Amarna was built, the offerings were made figuratively. In the same period of Akhenaten's rule, the offerings were made through the king or pharaoh, who was the sole intermediary with the gods. "This deceased boy," Ricky said, "could he be the nephew of Pharaoh Akhenaten?" Stanley's eyes glistened. "That's what makes this so intriguing. This would appear to be a royal, or at least a noble, offering table. We know Akhenaten had a sister named Henuteneb, but there is no record of her offspring. What's curious is the carving of the ship with the boy. That's an image I have never seen on an offering table. It would be difficult not to assume a connection with the vessel buried behind us." "Perhaps the young man had a love of boats," Zybig said, "or died on one." Stanley nodded. "Entirely plausible." "What is your plan for excavating beneath the table?" Ricky asked. "Well," a gunshot rang out from the opposite side of the field. Stanley turned to see a man walking toward him with a clumsy gait. An Egyptian Antiquities Ministry agent assigned to Amarna, he frequently visited the site. A neat red mark on the front of his white shirt blossomed into a bloody crest, and he staggered and fell. "Aziz!" Stanley cried, climbing from the pit and running toward the stricken man. He halted when a gunman emerged from the far trench and fired in his direction. The bullet struck just ahead of Stanley, spraying sand onto his shoes. The archaeologist froze and slowly raised his arms. There were 3 gunmen, each dressed in loose-fitting white cotton trousers and shirts. To conceal their identities, each wore a headscarf and sunglasses. Armed with automatic pistols, they rounded up Ricky and Zybig and marched them with Stanley to the large open pit where the boat's stern had been exposed. A huge mound of sand, overburdened